Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. It is kind of late. I'm really excited to say that I finally got to go back to the movie theater. The closest open movie theater is in Oneonta, New York, and I live in Norwich, New York, so it's kind of far. It's like 45 minutes drive, but I finally was able to talk my dad into letting me drive there. So I have my permit, so I don't have my license yet, but I was really excited about it, and I decided to watch Spiral because I had already planned the Saw series. I almost wish that I had waited so I could use that excuse to go see A Quiet Place 2, but hopefully I'll be able to find that streaming somewhere at some point in the near future, but until then, I will not be actually watching A Quiet Place 2. So don't expect a review for that. I'm very, very sad and sorry about it because I honestly am super excited about that movie. But I was pretty excited that I got to go back to the movie theater. It was a huge fun experience. I had a great time. And I got to watch an okay movie. So, I guess that's a plus. But without further ado, let's begin discussing Spiral from the Book of Saw. Just a quick reminder that if you like the video, please consider subscribing. It's a really big help. Thanks. Spiral from the Book of Saw was released in 2021, and it was written by Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, and it was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. So a couple things on them. First, Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger wrote Jigsaw, which is his predecessor of Spiral, and Darren Lynn Bousman directed, I think it was 2, 3, and 4, which, granted, I liked 2 and 3, didn't really care for 4. I'll preface this by saying there's no spoilers. I don't do spoilers here. And this is also partially written by Chris Rock, actually. Chris Rock was able to do a story treatment, and the reason that Lionsgate went about doing this is because Chris Rock really liked the idea, and they thought that having Chris Rock on board would bring more people in, and that is 100% correct. I really, really, really like this movie. And, it's not even I think it's a perfect movie at all. I just really enjoyed watching it. And I have the unfortunates, I should say, of watching this after I've already seen some reviews on it. Normally I don't do that, but it's kind of inevitable because it's such a big movie that I stumble across other people's thoughts. And a lot of them were negative. They just didn't really like it. I honestly kind of liked it. Now, I will say that there's really not a whole lot of blood and gore here. There's some, but it's not nearly as bad as in other Saw movies. It's much less a thriller movie about traps, more so than it's a movie about detectives. And because, alright, basic storyline, with no spoilers, of course, is Chris Rock is a cop, and he feels betrayed by other cops because they don't really like him very much because his dad is their old chief. And he is basically trying to prove to them that he can be a good cop. But all of a sudden, cops start going missing, and then they show up murdered, and it starts to be kind of this pattern that Jigsaw used to have. And they see the spiral everywhere they go, and they're following these really cool clues to try to figure out who it is and try to stop them. So, I honestly thought it was really cool because I think that what Saw 6 and Saw 7 were really trying to do was to do what this movie succeeded in doing, which is giving us a really interesting crime drama surrounded in Saw, right? Because in the first Saw movie, there's no real crime drama, more so it's just wow, Saw. There's people, they need to saw their freaking foot off and stuff. And so, I think that's really cool. It's just a thriller, slasher film. And while I can respect people that like those movies, it's still not, it's not quite up to cinematic par as it could be, right? And so as soon as I saw the first Saw, I was I'd love to explore some of the more, interesting, actual detective issues. Because not only is it a slasher film, it also has the potential to be a film about the people investigating this kind of thing. And I think what Spiral does, and I think it was really smart, was bring it into the police, right? They're killing the police, so the police have even more of a reason to want to find the killer. I think the greatest part about this film was Chris Rock, which I never really hated Chris Rock, but I never really been super interested in his movies, and he's never really necessarily even that big of a lead anymore. I mean, he's a stand-up comedian, and I like his stand-up, but beyond that, it's, you barely ever see him anymore. And for him to come back swinging with, a thriller movie and to do very well in it, it's awesome. And let's just start talking about the acting because I'm already there. We're going to talk about Chris Rock, who plays Detective Zeke Banks. And not only is he playing a character in a thriller slasher film, he's playing more of, it's sort of along his own lines, right? We have some comedy here. It's not a comedic movie, of course, by any stretch of the imagination, but there is some comedy, and it works, right? Whenever Chris Rock he does sling a joke or two around, and honestly, it is pretty funny. There are some laugh out loud moments in this movie that I really enjoyed in the movie theater, and there was like 12 people that showed up to our theater, so like it really wasn't a whole lot, but still. And like while he was still able to be funny, he also has a lot of moments where he has to break down and be super serious and scared and emotional, and they worked really well. I'd love to see more Chris Rock in the future doing roles like this where they can have a dramatic impact but also be kind of softer. Max Minghella as William Schenk. He is his partner. He is the partner of Banks, and I just really liked him. I think he's really cool. He's got a lot of really cool and interesting backstories and twists that I think I was kind of expecting, but I was still really happy about. I really enjoyed him as a character, and I hope we see him again in the following Saw movie, which is supposedly greenlighted, so we should be seeing a Saw 10. I do think it'll bring back a lot of the main cast, and I hope it does, because I really like this movie. Now, I've been talking about a lot about the good parts. There are still quite a lot of bad parts. Like, I think that the special effects were really good, but I don't think that it had enough gore for me, because if you're going to see a Saw movie, you're going to see it because of its, slasherness, right? And while I think the traps were brutal, I don't think they were quite bloody enough for my taste. But that's okay, because that wasn't really the main focus of the film here. And I think that having Samuel Jackson in the movie kind of was I love Sam Jackson, I really do. The only issue I have is that he was barely in the movie and honestly didn't get to show off any of his really interesting parts because they had the opportunity to make him also have more of a dramatic role, and they kind of leaned out of that and made him more silly than anything else, which is the unfortunate part of having Sam Jackson in any movie. I also think that there's a lot of flaws. Like, the flashbacks were really dumb. I think that a lot of the flashbacks didn't work, and honestly, we don't really need them, especially for flashing back something that we've already seen, which is a problem in almost every Saw movie, is that they're like, oh, well, just in case you missed this in Saw 4, let's watch this. Which, granted, they didn't do any of that because this is almost a standalone movie. I can see how it is a continuation of the Saw series, but it is also definitely a standalone movie. You can go see this movie without ever seeing anything and pretty much understand all of it. They mentioned Jigsaw 3 or 4 times, but they're like, oh, well, what if this is like the Jigsaw killings? And you're like, okay, this is probably what happened in the first 8 films, and you would be correct. So I actually like that it can be a standalone film. And another issue that I had was the discontinuity, which is honestly kind of embarrassing to Lionsgate here that they didn't catch these, but there are times when Chris Rock will reach towards something without a glove on, and then the next frame have a glove, and it's okay, they switch angles and they just change props and stuff, and that happens quite a few times in this movie, and honestly it's kind of ridiculous. The amount of that is just quite annoyingly ridiculous, but that's okay. They really should probably check their films more before they send them out, but that's on them. Overall, this movie's actually really fun. I like watching it. It's definitely not a perfect movie. There's a lot of issues with it, and I think that these issues can and hopefully will be resolved in the next film. I didn't mention the ending because it's spoilery, but I will mention that I liked it. I think that the ending, the exact end of the movie was why? Honestly, I liked it, but I also really freaking hated it, and I can't even tell you why because it's spoilery, but watch the film, you'll understand. But I'm going to go ahead and give Spiral from the Book of Saw a B+. One of my favorites in terms of the later movies. I did not care for 4, 5, 6, 7. I think Jigsaw was okay. There's nothing will ever beat Saw 1 ever. That movie is a classic and amazing, but this one's definitely fun, and it is only in theaters right now, so if you guys have a movie theater nearby, definitely check this one out. It's definitely worth a watch, especially if you haven't seen the Saw movies. This is a good one to start on. If you can start on Saw 1, do that. If you want, you can get a Blu-ray set like this at Walmart for $15, which is pretty much a steal. It comes with all Blu-ray and DVD. They also have just a DVD set, which is $10. So if you guys are interested in any of that kind of thing, definitely check that out. Please consider subscribing if you guys like new releases. I usually do them on Friday, but I wasn't able to go yesterday because my father is an over-the-road truck driver, so he doesn't get home by then. So I bought tickets for tonight, and I hope that's okay. And I hope you guys still enjoy the video. But yeah, definitely subscribe. I do videos every single day, and I do new releases on Fridays, and so I guess sometimes now Saturdays. I'm hoping to. I want to get a job in the movie theater when I get to Oneonta. The issue is that you have to be able to work weekends. And the issue that I would have with working weekends would be that I would want to watch the movies on Fridays. And if I'm working on weekend, that means I won't be able to watch new releases till Monday. So it's like, I don't want to have to do that. So I don't know. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do about that yet. I might just try to work somewhere else and then go to the movies on Fridays. Which will still be okay. Regardless, you're going to have new content over the weekend. So make sure you're subscribing for that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you appreciate it. And definitely go check out my other reviews. I have an entire Saw playlist. So this will be in that playlist if you guys are interested in my thoughts on their Saw movies. But that's going to do it for me today. As always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.